So you're working in the business at that point?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd been there 11 years.
Father passed away.
He passed away on the 15th of March.
The business ceased operation during this time?
No, the business continued. I was obviously off looking after my mum, dealing with the funeral and everything else.
They pulled the rug out underneath you?
Absolutely. I mean, my dad's will went missing.
How long after your father's funeral was this? Pretty quickly?
Yeah, very quickly.
Arise had a big incident that happened at the end of 2023 where a fire happened. What was it like that day that you found out that happened? On this week's episode of the podcast, we have Kylie from Arise Aromatics. Arise Aromatics is a fragrance and perfume company who have had a journey. It's a family legacy business, and Kylie and her family have been through quite a lot. And in this episode, we're going to dig deep into what it means to be a family business and how that motivated her to pursue Arise. And of course, there's also some tragedy that happened late last year. So I hope you enjoy this episode of the podcast. Kylie, welcome to the podcast. Thank you for
having me.
Shaving some time out of your busy schedule, because I know how busy you must be right now. And yeah, I want this podcast to really be about just business owners chatting, just having a conversation about, business, how they started, what they've learned, all those aspects of business, because I think it's really interesting to know what business owners' mindsets are. And I'm really using this as an exercise for me to learn more about business.
Right.
And I think that's important. Like, we all have a story to tell. We all have a reason why we started. So give us a little bit. Now, I do know a little bit, a background disclosure, but tell us a little bit about the background of you and Arise Aromatics.
Well, thank you. It's been a bit of a rocky start for us because we never expected that we would be business owners. We always thought that we would be in a heritage business, and I guess just having that succession on from a long-term family business. And that all got thrown up in the air when my dad passed away and there was a hostile takeover of his business. So, my husband and I were both in the business, and external to that, as far as family is concerned, it was just us. So we were in the position where it meant everything to us and our livelihood, and then the rest of the family were kind of like overwhelmed because we were dealing with the grief of losing my dad, and then of the stress of trying to fight for a business that half of us wanted and half of us didn't.
Yeah.
So
it was a successful business before that.
Very much so.
Yeah. So can you just give us a quick little background on that?
Sure. So my dad was in the essential oil, personal care, aromatic chemical business for pretty much his whole career. So he worked for probably the biggest wholesaler of materials that's been a family business in this country. It's since evolved into a big multinational company, and their role really was to sell essential oils and aromatic chemicals to other manufacturers in the country. So back in those days, it was all of the sort of Max Factors and, Revlons and Estee Lauders. And
so big brands we're talking about.
Big brands. And he had a very good reputation as far as trading materials, in business in general. He was a true salesman. And he broke away from that business and decided to buy a fragrance company from an elderly perfumer back in the day. And him and his business partner started this business together. And my dad has always been the commercial side of the business. He ran the business. He had all the relationships.
Businessman.
He was a true businessman. His partner, on the other hand, was on the technical side. He was the creative, and he had all of the sort of science background. Wasn't a trained perfumer, but, they could certainly reverse engineer a good fragrance.
Bit of a science person.
Yeah. So, and they had a very successful relationship and business for, 35 years. So it was a big shock to us when that broke down after, he passed away, because I would have thought that this man would step up as, my step-in dad and say, it's going to be fine. So,
and there was probably obviously a personal relationship as well as a business relationship,
right?
Oh,
absolutely. I mean, this man was at our wedding. He was, he's been part of my life for the majority of my life. never had a crossword with him. It was just really strange behaviour, but it wasn't really coming from him. It was his family pushing him. And I feel like, you know, that's always really tricky in family business.
Yeah.
Because often we trust those relationships. They're being held for a long time. You know, you share values as families. You know, your families blend together. They celebrate together. You know, all of those things. And they're very rarely in family business a formal documented situation. So
like on a handshake, right?
It's a gentleman's agreement. You know, it's like it's a 50-50 partnership on paper as far as, you know, all of ASICs and everything are concerned. You're equal shareholders. But, you know, how do we deal with the fallout of one of those partners not being there? You know,
Then
what is the
your
succession
dad passed
plan?
away suddenly, or
He'd been sick for a period of time with, you know, various things, but he had a bit of a sore hip. It was really strange. Like when he'd get up, he'd sort of have a pinch in his hip, and he thought he had a hernia. So he went to his doctor and they did some scans, and one of these scans showed up this tiny shadow on his lung. And that shadow may have been there his whole life, like nobody really knows. But this surgeon, sometimes as surgeons do, was really determined to get to this, you know, shadow and get rid of it. So they removed a lobe of his lung, and he never really could recover from that surgery because he'd had heart problems in the past, he'd had a heart valve replaced, and that, you know, just compounded the difficulty in recovering from this surgery. It was major.
Just started deteriorating.
Yeah, so he just didn't feel well. And, you know, the day he passed away, he was very determined to get back to work, and I had dropped off some documents to him in the morning because he was trying to do this big deal, and I was trying to, you know, say to him, Dad, I'm not sure about this deal. It doesn't feel right. And I did this big analysis of why I didn't feel like it was good.
So you're working in the business at that point?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd been there 11 years. So
A true family business.
Yeah, and I'd sat behind him all of that time, and I guess I never really appreciated until I had my own business what I was absorbing just from listening to him, you know, how he conducted himself, how he, you know, moved in the industry, who he trusted, who he didn't trust, who to contact. And I was really surprised myself now sometimes when I'm talking to clients or I'm talking to suppliers or having, you know, issues to overcome. Sometimes these things come out of me and I just think, wow, like where did that come from?
Dad.
And I feel really proud about that
100%.
because I guess I didn't really have the confidence when I was working there that that's sort of what I was capable of. I was sort of always kept pretty small. So, you know, dealing with his death and then I guess his legacy was a passion project of mine, and I wasn't going to give it up. So I kind of led my family into a situation that they probably didn't appreciate. But for me it was like, this is his life's work. This is his legacy, and I'll be buggered if I'm going to let anyone destroy that. So, you know, as they do, these things drag on for many years in courts, and nobody.
So your father passed away.
He passed away on the 15th of March.
The business ceased to operation during this time?
No, the business continued. I was obviously off looking after my mum, dealing with the funeral and everything else. I could feel a shift at the funeral from their family. It was a bit icy, and I just thought, oh, that's grief, you know, like it's not to be unexpected. And then it was, you know,
they pulled the rug out underneath you.
Absolutely. I mean, my dad's will went missing, so we could never. We could never prove my mum is the executor of his will because we didn't. We had a copy, but a copy, and for anyone out there who doesn't realise, you need your original will. A copy is not suffice. So, and these are all the things that we learnt, and how ridiculous it is to think that someone who is going through grief and has business to deal with has got these extra layers of complexity that you wouldn't ever have to face if you didn't know. So you're not having the original will meant we had to go through probate. So that was 12 weeks of just to prove that my mum was the executor of the will so that his shareholding would fall to her and that she could make decisions on behalf of our family in that business. And in that time, my dad owned the building that we were in, and they changed the locks. They had 24-hour security. We couldn't go near the business. My husband and I got terminated just, by email. I got terminated by email. My husband got terminated, had security march him into the office one day, and they just pushed termination across the table. And he said, well, you can't just terminate me. You need a good reason. And they said, no, we won't discuss it. So we were just like dealing with these people that were just impossible.
How long after your father's funeral was this? Pretty quickly?
Yeah, very quickly. So we were both terminated by July, and he passed away in March. But I hadn't been there in between that time. We weren't, we were sort of trying to figure out what was going on. So after that, we were just like, okay. And it really, I guess, made it clear to me that how important relationships in business are, because it was the clients, it was the suppliers all turning to us and saying, what's going on? How is this happening? You can't let this happen. And all customers would say, who is this guy? I've never heard of him. I didn't even know your dad had a partner.
It's just a background guy.
Yeah. So it was really the clients that buoyed us and said, you need to start again. And I was just like, well, how do I do that? I've just walked away from, a warehouse with $2 million worth of stock in it. And how do I, little old me, achieve that? So we had a really good supplier in the UK, and she rang me up one Saturday night. She's a very, very prim and proper English lady. And she said to me, you will stop crying. You will pick yourself up. You are David Berg's daughter. And this is just not going to happen. So she said, you need to start again. And I was like, how? So she said, we are going to send you a container of materials, pay for them when you can, but you need to start again. And with that, we just thought, okay, we can do this. So
what did that make you, how did that make you feel when this person's in your corner?
Oh, of course I was overwhelmed with, all sorts of emotions. I was terrified because I didn't want to let her down. And I thought, I still have the responsibility of paying for these materials ultimately. And, what am I going to do? And my husband at the time, he'd lost his parents about a year earlier, and he had got an inheritance, a very small inheritance. And he said, I'm willing to start the business with this money. And I thought, can we do it? Have we got the capability? And like I said earlier, you don't know what you don't know until you're pushed into the corner. And having Nick's experience in the physical warehousing, the compounding, the, organisation skills of running a new warehouse, and then my experience on the commercial side and having the relationships with the customers. I mean, I was at the coalface of the business. I was the one dealing with the customers on a daily basis. I knew what they wanted to buy. So we went through a process where we went to each customer and we just said, this is, obviously what's going on. They gave us their fragrances to match. So we had to go through a big process of analysis. So we sent all of our fragrances overseas for matching, and we started again. And it was just, order by order, day by day, out of our garage at home we started. And then eventually we thought, okay, we're going to rent a place. And we found this beautiful warehouse in Regentville Road. And at the time we walked in, I thought, oh, this place is huge. How are we ever going to fill this place up? But after 4 years of hard slog, we were flying. We were having, loving what we were doing, was so passionate about it. And the business reputation was just going from strength to strength. I mean, the fragrance industry in this country is very small.
Yeah, I was about to say it would be, right?
It's very small.
Is it from generations, like you said? Is it a generational business, really?
Look, sometimes it is, but it's often a lot of new brands. You see today there's these indie brands that come out that really get some really good traction. But everyone has to start somewhere. So we really focus on the small to medium market. We're dealing with a larger fragrance house where their pack sizes are unmanageable, their lead times are unmanageable, their pricing is crazy. We can help brands begin, and we will support them in the development of new products. And we'll say, look, we'll support you with a 1 kilo order or a 5 kilo order to get you up off the ground, because the fragrance is the most expensive component in their product, but it is the smallest component. So at a fragrance going into a product at maybe 1%, it would take these small brands 5 years to get through a drum of fragrance, which is just, and the cash flow impact it has as well on a brand. So, you know, we found that a lot of these really cool new brands, a lot of luxury brands, the tide is turning on returning manufacturing back to this country. You know, it's a real sense of pride for brands to say, I am Australian made, I am 100% calling on suppliers in this country to build my brand. And that has a lot of clout also overseas, because overseas markets look to us because they know that our quality is excellent, our innovation is amazing. You know, there's a lot of sophistication coming back to this country on the fragrance front. So it's really exciting when you see these brands kick off, and it's just like I get a real sense of pride about
Does
it.
it push you?
100%. You know, and you go into department stores, or, you know, one of our customers, you know, had an amazing opportunity to be in Bergdorf Dorfman in Fifth Avenue, New York. It's like, oh my God, this little Australian brand with our fragrance on board from Penrith is in New York. So the opportunities really are endless. And I feel like we are just scratching the surface of where we want to sit. We are, you know, very boutique. So it's not sort of mass produced. Everything we make in-house by our own two hands.
I know, I've seen. I know.
So
it's really cool.
Yeah, we don't outsource anything. So, well, obviously we've had to outsource recently, but now everything will be back.
Yeah. So the business that your dad ran, is that still in operation right now? Like they are doing their own thing, and then you just created your own thing from scratch?
Yes. Yeah. They are still in business.
Yeah. Then the reason why that question is, like, obviously that business was all family legacy, like you mentioned at the beginning, but obviously you now have started your next generation of your family legacy.
100%.
So what does it mean to you to continue your dad's legacy?
Oh, look, I mean, I would hope that he would feel extremely proud, and having his pride in me was always what a daughter is seeking. I think it's just like, you know, you're there like a little puppy dog going, you know. Yeah. I think for him it was something that he always wanted, to move the business out to Penrith. Even in his last days, I remember he was in the Nepean Hospital, and he sent me to this auction. And he hadn't seen a contract. He just saw it in the newspaper or online or something. He goes, I want you to go to this auction and I want you to bid. And I'm like, Dad, I am not bidding. Like,
he's in hospital.
And he had me on FaceTime at this auction, and, you know, I mean, he got outbid. But he had been trying so hard to find a place that he wanted the business to continue. And he was trying to figure out, how do I navigate my business moving forward and removing ourselves from the other partner? No, I don't think he knew. He was very determined to get back to work, you know, like, and he was furious when he had to have this surgery. In fact, you know, I don't know what overcame me on the day. It was the 19th of January, and he was his last day in the office. And I just started taking photos of him at his desk. And he was there, and I took photos of him at his computer and of his hands, and, you know, this deep thought, you know, like he used to sit and look out the window in this deep thought, and I could see him, the wheels just turning, and him figuring out, how do I navigate so that this business can succeed after me, or even with me retired, or he would never have retired. He would always still have some influence over the business, but he did want to remove himself from his partner. But his partner always wanted too much money for his share of the business. He wasn't realistic about what, you know, the business is only worth what someone's prepared to pay. Mm-hmm. And they had moments where people came knocking on the door and were interested in buying the business, and the deal always fell over because of the stock holding. You know, they would hold so much stock, and all of these things have
high ticket value.
Yeah, they have. Well, to them it had intrinsic value, but to a potential buyer, if it's out of date, if you can't use it, if it's irrelevant, it's got no value. So a lot of the buyers would come and say, well, we want to pick through the stock, take what we want, buy what we want, and leave the rest. But what are these two guys going to do with all this stock that nobody wants?
You can't just dump these chemicals.
You can't just dump it. You know, it's a big problem.
100%.
So, you know, we always had this sort of issue where people would come and go, and Dad was always so forthcoming with information. He overshared information with potential buyers, and it was to his detriment. And it was a point of frustration for us because it was just like we could see the writing on the wall. We could see, you know, these people didn't have his best intentions. But I still believe he deserved his payday at the end of it all. He'd worked so hard. And any business owner, you know, would have a strategy, an exit strategy at the end, like where is the end goal here? Mm-hmm. And I think it's a big problem in family business again, because sometimes you have this expectation that people in the family will continue the business. Yeah. And it's got this lovely generational feel about it and this heritage business. But, you know, what happens when that person wants out? You know, like how do we get them out? How do we get them what they're due? You know, it's very hard to sell a business to another family member. I couldn't do it. You know, like our sons work in the business and I could never expect my boys to pay for my business. You know, that's me, but I just couldn't accept that from them. So
the thing is, you know, I'm really loving like that we're talking about family business, because obviously mine's not a family business. I guess it is now because I started it. My family rely on it. It all starts from somewhere. But when you think about businesses dating back generations and years, that's how it all was. It was a business, and then the fathers and the sons, and that's how the trajectory of businesses have gone.
Yeah.
And you are at a point now where it's like you don't, you know, want to force it onto your sons, right?
No.
So where do you kind of hope and see where Arise will go?
Look, for us, I think we're in this for the long haul. My son did a university degree completely unrelated to our business, and he quickly learned that getting into the industry that he studied in was, you know, financially impossible. You know, he did sports and exercise science. He was, you know, working with the Wanderers, and, you know, they just don't have the budget for these kids that come out of university. And I think it's such a trap for these poor kids who are really following a bit of a passion project when they come out of school. And we all say to them, you know, just follow your dream, do whatever you want, you know, like, but they fall into these degrees that really lead them nowhere. And it's really upsetting because they're giving up 3 or 4 years of their life, or 3 or 4 years of their earning potential, to study something that is never going to propel them in a career. So he's got a very big personal interest in fitness and health and all of those things, which are great for him as a human, for himself, but is it going to be a long-term business for him? So, you know, when he said to us one day, you know, I think I'm going to come to work on Monday, and I was standing in my kitchen ironing, and he just announced to me, oh, I think I'm going to come to work. And I was like, are you asking me or are you telling me? Like, what does this mean?
Give me a job, Mum.
And I was just like, I'm not sure how this is going to go. Like, we're going to, you know, clash, and I don't want to fight with you. But look, he has put his head down and he has become an incredible compounder. He's really good with the customers. He's building the relationships by going out and doing the deliveries.
Okay, so he's learning all the facets.
Yeah, and you've got to really have that whole holistic view on a business. And I think that's where his business partner thought, oh, well, you know, he got it all wrong, because he all he could see was the money and, you know, the glory of all the money and the wealth of the stock. But without the relationships, you've got nothing. So, you know, Riley's really starting to learn a whole lot about it. And I've said to him, you could pick a career in here, whether it's marketing, it could be, you know, doing all of the social media, it could be, you know, going and studying perfumery in France. It could be any of those things. It could be finance, whatever you want. You could build a career in this business. So he's actually showing us that he's very interested. And our youngest son, he's still at school, but he shows a strong interest too. And he's more on the science side. So that would be great to have that technical ability there. Our middle guy, he's a carpenter. He wants nothing to do with it. But he's very good at coming and helping us physically, like he builds walls and he puts up racking and he fixes things and,
That's handy to have.
Yeah. Oh, I love it. So I've been really lucky, but I would never expect them to live and die, and I wouldn't put them through what I went through. It wasn't easy working with my dad. Yeah. It was not easy. We had moments where our relationship broke down completely and, we just lost all respect for one another and we'd fight, and it was ugly. And it was sad because we lost a lot of time. And there were moments where I'd say, you know what, I just want you to be my dad. I don't need you to be my boss anymore. I'd come from a corporate career. I'd worked in law firms and banks and fund managers, and I could stand on my own 2 feet. I didn't need to be there. Yep. I just sort of I just ended up there because one of his office ladies had left suddenly, and I was pregnant with my 3rd child, and I thought, I'll come and help you until I have this baby. And then I just never left. So it was strange the way it happened, but I don't regret it. I regret the discord between us, but I don't regret the experience and now having him as still part of our business. And, I was talking to a colleague today, and again, his dad and my dad, they were mates. And, we're both come from the same backgrounds, the same experiences, and now we help each other in business. So it's really lovely, and I think it's rare these days. There's a lot of smaller to medium businesses that get sucked up into bigger businesses and they just lose their soul. Those personal connections get lost. And I think that's why, we still need to have these family businesses that are willing to sacrifice and perhaps compromise that relationship a little bit for the sake of keeping people, in businesses that are really authentic and real. Because, life's just too short for all the BS. Everyone just wants to have bigger businesses, so many departments, so much carry on. No one can make a decision. It's so many hoops to jump through.
I find that's when businesses fail, when they try to grow too quickly, and
ambition
doesn't kind of pushes their, their drive and their passion. They lose that because their ambition is bigger than that.
Yeah, and they lose good people because of it too. Because they, you kind of get fed up when you're hamstrung all of the time from actually performing at your absolute best. Mm-hmm. The internal optics of these businesses are so intertwined, and so everyone's just trying to justify their existence, and it's all about the bottom line, and what's this department costing? Is it adding value, or is it just drawing money away from this business? I find it, I would really struggle to step back into the corporate world now, I think.
I'm just going to pause for a second. I have a fear that I didn't hit record on this, but I think I did.
Oh, my God.
Oh, I did. I just had to turn around the other way, so then when I looked over, I didn't have it. Anyway.
Oh, boy.
We are. I knew I did. Because I couldn't see the recording, I was like, my fear. Okay. All right, let me get back on track. When you started Arise, was there, obviously you took a lot of inspiration from what your dad had created.
Yeah.
But was there things that you knew you wanted to do differently than what your dad did?
Absolutely. My dad's business was very industrial. So there were a lot of businesses that were detergent manufacturers, or, big companies maybe like Castrol, or, fragrance goes into so many things that you would never even expect. And, he loved that kind of business because it was big volume and it wasn't very technical.
Yeah.
So whereas I guess I do like the finer things in life and I love beautiful things.
You always smell lovely.
Thank you. And I'm fascinated by brands, and, working with brands I get really excited by. Whereas he was just like, oh, they're a waste of time. You have to put so much, you've got to put so much time in developing this relationship and managing.
He was a salesman, wasn't he?
Yeah,
so he just, everything, was like, what's the bottom line? What's the sales? What's going to drive commercial? Okay, that's something that we can replicate fast, easy, quick. And you're obviously liking things that is
I
a
like
little bit
things,
more entertaining to you.
Well, and pretty, like I love beautiful things. So for me, I always would sort of want to work with these, nicer brands. And rather than, I spent my whole career walking in and out of warehouses that were, totally filthy. And you just think, oh, really, is this it? This is not very glamorous. But it's the demand on us on a technical front that he really struggled with. So whereas we have been able to really excel our business on a technical front, we can compete with any of the big fragrance companies on a technical level. So, and that was something that he just didn't value, like he didn't see the value in, making sure that things were, and the world's changed as well. Like the demands on us and the documentation we have to provide is imperative. Yeah. So, and you can't get around it anymore. You used to be able to in the old days, but you can't get around that anymore.
Yeah, give someone a $50 and there you go.
Yeah,
not
like
anymore.
The QC back in those days was just like, oh yeah, that smells all right, it'll do. But now it's, if my fragrance goes into someone's batch and it fails or something happens, I have to be able to back myself and say, I know that what my fragrance is in there is 100% what I'm saying it is. So, and I can, every ingredient. And some of these formulas will have 50, 60, 70 ingredients in it.
Yeah.
And I think that's what people fail to see, the value in fragrance and that, sophistication of a formula. Every ingredient plays its part. It's like a musical symphony. You have chords and you have beautiful notes. But when they all blend together, it has to just sing beautifully and be stable and be consistent every single time you make it. So
I've smelt some of your stuff individually, like, whoa, what is that?
Oh,
but then when it's in something else, you're like, that's because of that.
And that's the thing, the beauty of the industry. It's just like one drop of this or, something, it can make a whole formula just explode into something magnificent. And, some of them chemicals, they are dreadful. But look, he loved what he did. He that industrial side of the industry he loved. And they were all, men's men.
Yeah, businessmen.
Yeah. So he, these sort of creative types that generally own these types of brands, he would find difficult to tolerate.
Yeah. So you knew you wanted to make it into your own thing.
Yeah.
And really create your own legacy, right?
Absolutely, yeah. Like I have a real sense of pride of the brands that I work with and, when I see them out there and I just think, wow, like that's us. That's amazing. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, we might sell them 5 kilos, we might sell them 20, we might sell them 200. We have to give these brands a chance to grow. And we want them to grow in Australia, not look elsewhere and say, okay, now we've been priced out of the market here, we have to look elsewhere. The capabilities of people overseas are better than what they can get here. No, I won't have it. So I just think, if we can support them when they're just tiny little indie brand and they're at the Life and Style show, which is on right now, and they're showing their wares and hoping that someone will come and buy it. And then eventually, these brands become really successful brands.
All started from somewhere, didn't they?
100%. Yeah. So, and look, fine fragrance in this industry right now is a really big market. Hotel scenting, every club that you walk into's got a smell. Mm-hmm. All of these opportunities for
things
fragrance.
That people don't realise.
Exactly. It's a subliminal thing just in the background.
It's like when you go into a cinema and you smell popcorn.
100%.
That means you want to buy popcorn.
Dara Lee's shop would always be diffusing aniseed into the air. You never knew it when you walked in there, but it was that lure of this smells like Dara Lee. It's hotels have their own distinct fragrance, which, when you walk into the foyer, you smell it. When you get into your room, all of the amenities have the same fragrance. It's all this whole layered effect that then gets into your psyche and it builds those memories of when I was at that hotel. And then when you go back, it's like, oh my God, I can smell that again. And that reminds me of that amazing time I had at the Hilton or at the Shangri-La or wherever I was at. So that space for us right now is huge, and it's not just clubs and pubs and hotels, it's boutique restaurants. It's, a lot of these restaurateurs are all having a signature scent, or they want to sell a candle, or they want to add something to what they do to give the consumer an opportunity to extend the experience. So, we can make that happen in a whole raft of ways.
Yeah.
But, fragrance is at the core of it, and it really does have an emotional trigger for people. And
that's what you wanted to tap more into?
Yeah, absolutely.
In the business when you started it?
Yeah, well, I guess I didn't really think about it at the time. I was probably in survival mode when I was building the business. But it's pet care, it's laundry care, it's home fragrance, it's cosmetics, it's personal care, it's so many different things, and the opportunities really are endless. And not just in this country, outside of it as well, we are getting more and more inquiries every day for opportunities, outside of this country. So, I'm open and willing and,
How did you, I guess, start learning to be your own businesswoman?
Oh, look, I think it wasn't designed. It was just like when my back was against the wall, I had to really just back myself and say, you know what? I'm going to fake this till I make it. Like, it was terrifying because, do I have the knowledge? Do I have the experience? Do I have, the expertise? Can I back what I'm saying? And I think for me, like, I would always try to underpromise and overdeliver. And it was, I think, through consistent deliverance that I guess my reputation has gotten better, and I am becoming, I wouldn't say an expert, but I would be, people will ask me questions, or how do I do this, or where would I find that, or what do you think I should do here? And I always try and impart whatever I can to whoever's asking me. And sometimes, like I said to you earlier, I sit there and think, oh my gosh, how did I know that? Like, how did I answer that? But from a business perspective, it's never been about being a big business, being really successful. It's been about, how do I provide for my family and keep ourselves proud?
Yeah.
Because we've had to really fight and fight really hard. And it's been not just with the external forces, but often internal in our own family.
Yeah.
It's sort of, fighting for, the opportunity to continue. So, yeah, I wouldn't recommend it.
We'll just wait for that thunder. It took me a long time for me in my business to, I guess, start believing in myself. I've had my business now for 7 years, but I've only been really in this corporate kind of business world for coming up to 3 years or so. So it took me a really long time to really think of myself as a business person, am I providing good services and things like that? And it really took me a long time until probably only really the last few months where I really started thinking and going, no, I believe in myself. Did it take you a while to really believe in yourself?
I don't think I'm even there. I'm so impressed by that, because that self-belief, I think, is critical to being in business. It's a really hard thing to do.
We're so critical of ourselves.
You just sort of, I don't know if it's I'm a lot older than you, but I don't know if it's how would you say it? It's like inherently in your brain that you have to keep yourself small. Like, you don't want to appear to be a wanker in this world. Like tall poppy syndrome is so alive and well, and you just got to keep yourself,
humble.
and just, don't draw too much attention to yourself. Don't upset anyone, or tread on anybody's toes, or be too big for your boots, or like I've been told that my whole life, and I just think no, I don't want to upset anyone, But in business, you really do have to be confident and just say, you know what, I'm gonna say this. This is what I'm gonna do, and whatever the consequences might be are on me.
It takes a long time for businesses to start really valuing themselves. It took me a long time to value what I provide. And once you start really understanding what value you can provide to people, I think that's when belief and confidence really builds.
I had this experience only recently, and it was only through the loss of our business that I looked back and thought, I never appreciated what we had built. I never appreciated what we had. I used to kind of think, who would want to come here and work here in this little fragrance house, you know? When I look back at it now, it was freaking amazing. It was amazing. And I just think we had come so far in 4 years. We had built this incredible business. People were coming to us on a daily basis. We were helping so many people. To lose that in such a tragic way was really humbling, because it's now made me think we were great. We're actually amazing, and we have to become amazing again. This period of uncertainty, of the rebuild, of, you know, trying to get back on our feet has been extremely humbling. Yeah. And I think through that experience, I will find the confidence to put my shoulders back.
You'll put down a peg. For those who are listening, Arise had a big incident that happened at the end of 2023 where a fire happened.
Yes.
And it was absolutely devastating for you. I know a lot of people in the community were very devastated for you as well. I personally felt very upset for you guys. I had seen your factory and how beautiful it was and the hard work that you guys have put into it. And when I realized it was your place, my heart just sunk. So can you talk to me about, you know, obviously not how it happened, but what was it like that day that you found out that happened?
It was very strange, because we were just talking a second ago about being confident in your business and, you know, trying to feel that confidence to be a good business person. And we had made the decision for the first time to show at an industry trade event. And that for me took a huge amount of courage, because
100%.
I had always sort of been a little bit in the shadows, I guess, of the fallout of my dad's death and losing that business, and, you know, being in such a small industry, everybody knows everybody, and everyone knew that, you know, we were having this big problem with them, and, you know, like I always just wanted to hide and just like not rock the boat. I just wanted to get on with my day. I wanted to service my customers and just stay out of their way.
Yeah, not be the center of attention.
Don't bring attention to yourself.
Yeah.
So we had made the decision to do this trade event, and I was very nervous about it. And it was at the Pullman Hotel. And I thought, well, it's in Penrith. I can't avoid it. I have to stand up, put my big girl pants on and get to this trade event. So that day we had been busy setting up for the event and packing up.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
We were, you know, getting all our samples ready. So we weren't in production at all that day.
Yeah. So no one was there?
We were there, but we weren't making anything. So the warehouse was just no machinery, nothing was going on. Everyone was busy getting ready for the trade show. So we'd packed up a couple of banners and one laptop computer, one monitor, you know, samples, just stuff we needed for the day. And we left. And I remember I was sitting in bed having a cup of tea, and my husband came in at about it would have been about 10:15, 20:10. And he said, honey, something's really wrong. And I said, what do you mean? He said, the warehouse is on fire. And I said, what? What are you talking about? He said, the warehouse is on fire. And I thought, this can't be real. Like, no. So I picked up my phone. He said, our neighbour from Platinum Security had an alert on his phone from his smoke detector. And he couldn't log on to his cameras to see what the smoke detection was. So he rang us and said, can you guys log on to your cameras, because I can't get in and see something's going on. And we couldn't log into our cameras either. And he said, no, something's really wrong. So he only lives at Glenmore Park, so he went straight there. And he rang us and he was just in pieces. And he said, I'm so sorry, guys, but it's gone. And we were like, what? And then I picked up my phone on Facebook. There was a live stream on Facebook. And I'm just watching our business burn. And I'm...
Through the live stream?
Through the live stream.
Oh, I cannot imagine that.
And I just thought... And we woke up our son, we drove down there, and people were ringing me and it was all going on. And we had to park near Good Guys, and we just ran. And we got there, and when I saw it, oh, Adam, it was a fire like... The intensity of the fire was too much. The back wall had fallen in. It was absolutely insane. So we went and spoke to the commanders and we were like, what's happened? How did this happen? And, they still can't tell us.
They still don't know?
They still can't tell us
Is it still being investigated? Or
No,
is it,
no.
It's closed now?
Well, all they keep saying to us is that it was an electrical fault. And we're like, an electrical fault? But what does that mean? There was nothing plugged in. Our forklift wasn't plugged in. Because you'd think it's got to be a battery-related something, right? Like a lithium battery or something.
Yeah. I know of things like that blowing up. Yeah, I had a friend that had something blow up just because it was, I think a blow-back was charged into a wall or something like that, and the battery just...
Yeah, you hear about it all day, scooters or drill batteries or whatever it might be. Nothing was plugged in. We had some platform scales that we use for weighing out materials, and they have a small battery in them, and they were plugged in on a common wall between us and the unit next door. So the building was so dangerous after the fire. It was so unstable, and the one wall was leading on another building behind, and they couldn't send in any teams to investigate how this happened. So all they could do is send in a drone, but with everything, on top of each other, it was very hard to find that point of ignition. So we still have been told nothing about how this thing started, and unfortunately, the investigators have told us that it's not uncommon for a fire like that to just be put down to we don't know. And I find that really hard to accept because I need to know so that I can prevent this from happening again.
Yeah.
But in the weeks and months following, I don't know if I'm more attuned to fires now because of what's happened to us, but the fires that have happened in other businesses, other industries since our fire has really made me think how often this does happen. And we actually feel really lucky because it happened at night when nobody was there and no one was hurt, no fireys were hurt.
No other businesses were operating, so no one got in trouble. Yeah.
And even the surrounding businesses, they were disrupted, but they weren't destroyed. So
security was fine?
Yeah, Platinum Security were fine. They had smoke damage and water damage, of course, from them dumping so much water on the place. But it's still... it weighs heavily on us because of, I would hate to bring any disruption. The poor landlord's lost his building and the disruption in all of that and the reputational damage, we had issues with council afterwards with this.
The stigma, of course, a place that has chemicals is caught on fire.
And how dare they put a chemical factory right next to a creek and this could have happened. It's like no one could have...
Or hate kind of started going towards you guys.
We had some serious keyboard worrying hate coming our way straight after the fire, which was pretty stunning. I just thought, I remember walking when we were rebuilding in our new warehouse and I had to go to the plaza to get something and I was wearing my Arise T-shirt and I walked in and this person looked at me really, and I must have been paranoid, but this person looked at me and I thought, oh my God. And I ran into the bathroom and turned my shirt inside out and walked out again because I thought I just didn't want the attack,
Stigma, yeah.
But we had some really nasty hate from people post-fire that I just thought was really unfair and unwarranted. And, it's been proven over and over again that we weren't responsible for what happened. We weren't responsible for the aftermath of what had happened. But the damage to a brand like ours is huge. So, look, we're hoping that it's, flash in the pan and people will find something else to whinge about. But
in this day and age, I'm sure they would.
Yeah, it's definitely been challenging. But look, again, the support of our customers have buoyed us through it and they didn't doubt us for 1 minute that this would just be a moment of disruption. Again, the importance of relationships in the industry, being able to call on, friends in the industry to say, how can you help us through this? Can you service our clients while we can't? Having that trust in them to be able to do so. We're sharing really sensitive, IP between one another that, could be used against you. But having those relationships, trusting in those people has been probably one of the best parts of the whole disaster because it does restore your faith in humanity a little bit,
Well, I know we're part of a collective group with the chamber, and I know once it happens, we have a group chat, and everyone was like, "All right, how can we help Kylie? How can we help her? Who can give her a laptop? Who can what?" Like everyone was trying to pitch
amazing.
ideas to really try to help you, and it's that relationship building. So my real question is, how didn't you fall apart personally? Because I don't know where I'm in an emotional mess at the best of times. You know, your business just went up flames. You know, had all these, you know, to get the business up and running from, you know, the legacy of your father. Everything has been thrown at you. How did you not fall apart? Because you seemed so strong after, like online with your posts and sitting here right now. How did you just not go, all right, that's it?
Oh, look, I honestly don't know. I'd done a lot of work personally through, like with my dad and losing that business. So I had been in therapy for a long time, 5 years. And I do this amazing therapy, which I would recommend to anybody who has had any trauma in their life. It's called EMDR. And it's about, they use it a lot in the military when you have soldiers that go into war zones and see terrible things. And these memories, because if you think of your brain like a filing cabinet, these memories sit in the front of your brain and they're punching you in the front of the head every day. And it's just like this constant flash all of the time. And, I could rehearse in my head, they said this and then that happened. And it was like a movie all day, every day. And it's totally consuming. So what EMDR does is it works on rapid eye movement. It sounds really wacky, but believe me, it works.
A lot of therapies do sound wacky, though.
Oh, it's
That's
wacky.
why a lot of people get scared of therapy.
Yeah. Well, look,
that's weird.
I can't explain how it works, but it's on rapid eye movement, and something about that rapid eye movement allows your brain to file these memories the way they should have been filed. So what trauma does is almost keeps that memory stuck, and it's there and it's hitting you every damn day. So it allowed me to process, I guess, everything that had happened to me and everything that had happened to us as a family. And so I think I was probably in really good shape to deal with a trauma like the fire. And I was just so bloody determined to think, the first reaction I got from a lot of people in the industry was, who did this? And I was just like, no, I can't even put my brain there. Like, we looked over the footage. We surely there has to be an explanation. How did this happen? You know?
It must have been someone.
But there was nothing. So I didn't really have time to dwell on it. I just thought, I have to just keep going.
Yeah.
I think it will hit me eventually. Like I'm feeling in the last couple of weeks I'm getting a bit tired and I'm a bit like getting a little bit fed up with this and that. And I just think, I think maybe I need a bit of a break.
You've probably just been so hopped up on adrenaline to keep on going, right?
Yeah.
And then once maybe, it settles, like you said, off camera, that, you're kind of just waiting for last kind of shipments to come in to kind of get you guys back up to 100%, right?
That's it. I mean, the warehouse looks amazing. Everything's set up. It's like those materials, once they land, I think maybe then I might fall apart because it'll be like,
okay, yeah, we're now settled, and now insert your emotional breakdown.
Yeah.
No.
No, we're not going to do that.
No, you're not.
Maybe take a holiday because it was weird. We were due, I turned 50, a week after this happened. And
did you find it hard to celebrate that?
Oh, so hard. We had booked a party, which I really didn't want to have, but I'd booked a party at the log cabin. They wouldn't let us get out of it, so I was like, all right, well, we have to continue with this party. And it was quite therapeutic that night because
take your mind off
as much as I didn't want to show my face, everybody wanted to surround us and give their condolences or see us and just lay their hands on us and say, everything's going to be all right. So it was like a collective, let's just get this over and done with in one night. And we actually had a really nice night. And then we were meant to fly out on a holiday a couple of days after that, but we lost our passports in the fire. And so it was just like one thing after the other after the other. I couldn't have gone anyway. Like my head wasn't in the right space to be taking a break. But it was
might not have been got back up as fast as you have if you had went away.
That's it. Time was of the essence, and the reassurance to our clients that I don't want you to worry. I know this is scary, but we've got this, like we've got your orders. We know what you need. We know when you need it by. We're going to make it happen. And
come rail, come
yeah,
hail or shine.
And look, they did have to be a little bit more patient, but I hear now from clients that have had orders in with our competitors since September. They've had to prepay for them. They ordered them in September and they still have got no idea of when they're coming. And I'm like, we've burnt to the ground and got back up in that time. Like,
you must feel proud about that.
We really do.
And
I think it's only going to get better and better and better.
Mm-hmm.
Like, if I was the client and I was getting that level of service, I wouldn't put up with it. So I know that what we do it really well. And, we're just bloody determined. So, yeah, I think, I don't know, it's been a mixture of, I guess, a lot of therapy and, yeah, just bloody mindedness probably. I don't know.
No, I think that's amazing.
It's been a lot of wine. Way too much wine.
I'm sure that first night too. I'm sure that first night was like, all right, let's get those bottles out.
Yeah. All our friends came over and they cooked curries and they brought wine and we just sat out the back and we were just numb.
I think, you said it multiple times in this episode, but your relationships is really important to you. And I think not only your business relationships, but your personal relationships that probably help you get through these tough times, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I am, so grateful to my core people in my life that have always just stepped up. They know who I am. They know, what's going to help me. And their blind faith in us really does make it a whole lot easier. And, for your kids as well, it's just like, how do I get up every day and just keep showing them you got to keep fighting? Because, shitty things happen to good people every damn day. And, it's if you were sick, it would be so much worse. People lose children. It's so much worse. At the end of the day, it's just stuff. And, we knew that we did it once. We'll just have to do it again.
Yeah.
Come hell or high water. So, we're at the point now where we're like, okay, and we do feel really proud that, I think a lot of people would have written us off when we lost Dad's business and we proved to them that we had what it took. And now it's like double down because they're not going anywhere. And I actually really like that.
Yeah. Like a phoenix rising, aren't you?
Well, my husband cracked me up at the end. He's like, I've got a new business name. I'm like, what is it? He goes, Arise Again. I was like, your dad jokes are terrible. But I think, like maybe this was all orchestrated. Like the point of calling it Arise Aromatics was absolutely about that coming out of the ashes. Like, I'm not going to be held down by you people. And even to this day, the things that they do, the things that they say, the venom that they spit, I just think, why don't you just get on with your life? Get on with your life and leave me alone. But it sort of makes me laugh and I just think, well, if I'm still relevant to you, what can I say? I don't know.
Yeah.
Haters are going to hate.
Are you a Swiftie fan?
Absolutely.
Are you going to her concert?
Oh, no, I wish I was.
Didn't get those tickets. Just watch it on TikTok.
I
That's
didn't
what
have
I've been
time
doing.
to sit on Ticketek for that long, but yeah, no. I would
just
love
open
to
up
go.
TikTok. You just watch the whole concert. That's what I've been doing with the Melbourne concert. I think it's just your whole story from, starting again with your dad and now starting again with the fire. I think it's truly inspirational, honestly. And my big question to you is, what truly motivates you?
I just want a happy, peaceful life. Like I really just want to minimize suffering on any front for me, for my family. It's never been about being seen as a success. Like I said to you before, I didn't even look at our old business and think it was even a business. Like when I look at other people's businesses and I think, oh, how did they do that? How did they get there? And I feel, like really curious about their success. And then I never really looked at myself as a serious business person. I really need to work on that, I feel.
Well, you are though, Kylie. You are a very serious person.
I am going to try. But for me, I think just a simple life. I just want a simple life with as minimal amount of suffering as possible. And if I can, help other people, like the people that work for us, oh my God, I just adore them. Like if I can make their life better, then that's awesome too. Mm-hmm. So it's pretty simple. I don't know if I answered it very well, but
there's no wrong or right answer here. I think what motivates everyone is so unique and so different, right? And just last podcast I had, her motivation was she just wants to help people. That's her motivation. And your motivation is you just want to do good and have a simple life. And I think my motivation would be, again, I just want to provide for my family.
Yeah.
I want to be the best dad I can be. And for me, that is running my own business so I can be there for them.
Yeah. Gives you that flexibility for sure.
Yeah.
Because whatever decisions you make are in the best interest of the people that mean the most to you. Mm-hmm. And you're not being controlled by an external force, And sometimes I think, we said before about bigger businesses losing their soul and that connection to people and places. It's really disheartening, and it's soulless work. It's just sort of like you feel like a bit of a robot. You're just going in, doing what you do, and you leave. Didn't really mean anything, didn't change anybody's world. It's just like, what's the point? And usually those businesses are financially driven, and money's never going to make you happy. Mm-hmm. So it makes your life easier for sure, but it's not going to ever bring you, true happiness. I want my kids to be proud of me. I want them to, at the end of my day say, you know what, my mum never gave up. She just kept fighting. So that would make me very happy, actually.
I think they can probably easily say that. So I've got a couple of rapid fire questions that I like to finish with all my people that I have on the pod. Sometimes I throw in curveballs, but at the end of the day, you basically all have the same questions. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Should be a little fun. All right, favorite movie?
Good Will Hunting.
Nice. Excellent. Do you have a hidden talent, and what is it?
No.
No hidden talent?
I'm a very good cook.
There you go.
Yeah,
What's your favorite thing to cook?
I'm a really good cook. I love Italian food, probably the best, but I'm not, I just seem to have a good grasp on flavour, and I'm not afraid to try new things. So I'm a good cook.
Well, flavour, chemicals, sense.
True. And, 3 sons, they eat us out of house and home, so I try and keep it interesting.
What business inspires you?
I'd have to say probably outside of my industry. The ones with the yellow van and they recycle the food? Oh, I know what it is. The sea bins. Have you seen those?
No.
Sea bins? Oh, my God, they're amazing. This guy invented this contraption. It's like a round thing that goes in the ocean, and it's got a hole in it, and it just tips enough water in that all the rubbish goes into the sea bin.
Wow.
And it clears like mountains and mountains and mountains of rubbish out of the seas. That's I'm inspired by that.
That's pretty cool.
Because it's something so simple, but the impact's huge. Yeah. And they should be everywhere.
Favorite thing you guys have done at Arise?
Winning business over a very large French fragrance house that's been a heritage fragrance in these products for over 50 years. It's a beauty brand in Australia that's very well known. They've got clinics all over the place. And the fragrances that they were using used to come from France, and for a brand to change fragrance like that is a huge risk, and we smashed it. So I was very proud of that.
And I know some pretty cool stuff you guys have done too, which is pretty cool. Top 3 business tips or life tips?
Oh, be patient. It's a long game. You're going to have bad days. But you've just got to, find some little snippet of light in that day and have good people around you, that understand how to keep you buoyed. And I'd have to say, my poor husband, he's really copped it in certainly the last 12 months, and he is always so positive. He's always just like,
he's been a rock for you?
Yeah, there have been really hard days for me where I've just been like, what were we thinking? Like, this is madness. You just could have danced off into the distance. And I did say to him the night of the fire, we were standing there watching it burn, I said, look, I would completely understand if it's too much and you can't do this again. Because he'd already given up so much, you know, like he'd already...
Well, he invested with his finance, you know, his inheritance.
And he looked at me like I had two heads. He's like, are you mad? What else would I do? Like, there's just no question. And that's... Well, we're literally watching it burn. He had that, you know, determination. There was not a question in his mind.
He was already on realestate.com trying to find a warehouse.
And I just thought, okay, here we go. I'm on board. So that was really lovely. And, you know, I guess too for our kids it was never a question to not keep going. So, yeah, I would be very patient because, you know, even though I'm 50, I still feel like I've got, you know, 30 years ahead of me of doing amazing things. And I feel, you know, like I say to my boys all the time, you're going to have a long career. You'll have 5, 10 careers in your lifetime. Just be patient.
I like that. Yep. Favorite musical artist?
Eminem.
I did not expect that. I did not expect that coming from you.
I love it.
I don't know why.
It just keeps me pumped up, and, you know, it's got some venom in there, and yeah, he keeps me going for sure.
No, I can just imagine on days where it's tough, you just put your headphones on and you got Eminem blasting.
Oh, there's one song that he did with Sia. It's called Beautiful Life, and it's literally about coming out of flames, and I just blasted in my car.
So that's your anthem?
100%. Yep.
Excellent. So good. We just said Taylor Swift and then you mentioned...
No, I do love Taylor. I'm very diverse with my music.
Clearly.
Yeah, but no, he's just such a fighter, you know, like it's just... He's got a bit of FU about him, and he's just like doesn't really care what anyone thinks, and I really admire that. And he's had a struggle, you know, like his life hasn't been easy, and he's had addiction problems. He's, you know, been without his children. And now he's like sober. He's still alive, which is incredible. And his music's still amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, I love it.
Last question. If you could do anything else, what would it be?
I'd be working in a garden centre.
Just like someone...
Like Flower Power or something. There's nothing better than going like to Flower Power or a garden centre. It's so grounding and so lovely and so peaceful, and, you know, when you see, there's such gratification seeing things grow.
Well, you've grown Arise twice.
Yeah, true. Yeah, no, I love it. Like just the smells, the touch, the appearance of different things. Like, you know, when you get something that hasn't ever flowered before. Like I've got this in my garden. I've got this giant bird of paradise, and it's been there like I'd say more than 10 years. Never had a flower spike ever. I reckon a week after my dad died, 2 flower spikes. I couldn't believe it. I was just so fascinated by it. Or, you know, if you see we've got a passion fruit vine and the passion flower, if you ever really look at it, the intricacy of, you know, the little stamens and the colour and the way it just bursts to life and then closes into a fruit. Like that, just progress, I guess. I don't know what it is, but, yeah, I find a lot of peace in the garden. We love our garden. And when I'm in like a garden centre, I just, oh, my God, I love it.
And you're so gardening with M&M in your head.
I took my girlfriend the other day. We went out for brunch, and I said, do you want to go to Flower Power? She's like, okay. And afterwards she just said to me, thank you so much. Like I just had the best day. And we went home with our plants, and we just couldn't wait to position them where we were going to put them. And I don't know, it's really peaceful. It's silly, but I don't know. That or the flower markets at Flemington. If you've ever, do yourself a favour, get up really early one morning, take your wife or your daughters to Flower Power, not Flower Power, to the Sydney markets at Flemington. The buzz there, the atmosphere, it's just life, you know, like it's just so alive, and everyone's hustling and bustling and bargaining, but all the beautiful flowers there, it's unreal. You got to go.
Oh, well, I'll put it on the agenda one day.
Yeah, put it on the agenda.
Maybe when the girls are a little bit older.
Oh, I know, they'll love it. It has the best coffee, the best pastries, they've got the best people there. You know, and these are, you know, the salt of the earth kind of people. You know, it's literally paddock to plate. and I guess fragrance is a little bit that way too.
Yeah.
It's sort of the ethos that we're trying to show people is the capacity for local flowers or produce here, oils, essential oils that have never been revered here before, and turning them into something amazing. It's a beautiful thing, and if you can teach a farmer to use their land in a way that they've never considered before, you might say plant a windbreak of rosemary or something in barren land that would normally not grow anything, and then you can get someone to come and distill that oil straight on your land and sell it. That's another source of income for you. So, and they need the support. And I think for Australian farming, for Australian produce, for Australian botanicals, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So maybe that's where my gardening passion comes from. I don't know, but
I think you're just passionate about seeing things grow, not just in physical flowers, but also like your business as well.
Actually, just got a little shiver. I think you might be right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
because you saw your dad grow this business, and then those hurdles happened, and then you decided that you wanted to really grow something and have something be a baby, and then it's hit you again, and you're just continuously a person of resilience. That's what I've kind of getting from
I try
from you, and you I don't think you realize that you are quite inspirational to people that in business that just maybe need some help of being like when the down days. Like I have down days all the time, and you're right, like you could put things in perspective. You said earlier, like it was just a warehouse. No one got hurt. And I think sometimes I get in my mind where I'm like, this is too tough. I can't do this anymore. But it's just something that's not really...
It's not an option.
Yeah. So I think, I hope the listeners out here really kind of get a sense that this is a story of a lady that kind of got thrust into a situation with her family business and really wanted to throw that, keep that legacy alive. But now you want to create your own legacy.
Absolutely.
And I think you definitely have already done that. So I want to thank you for coming on the podcast today.
You're welcome.
Hopefully this was a bit of a therapy session too, maybe. Who knows?
Absolutely. It's always therapy.
I think talking is therapy, right? Whoever you talk to.
It really is. And, you just learn something every day, and you just think, you just got to keep imparting, I guess, what you can with people. Try and make their day better, help them however you can. You've got to be able to sleep at night, And it
only takes one person to learn something and spark something inside them. Yeah. I guess for you, it would be that lady in England that said, you got this. Stop crying. She sparked that in you too.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, she almost scared me into it. But she did. Her faith in me was, really flattering and, surprising. And, her saying, you are David Burke's daughter. Like, this is just not acceptable. And I was just like, yeah, okay. Yeah, no, you're right. I'm not going to let these bastards win. This is crazy.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure he'll be super proud of you.
No, I hope so. I hope to meet him again one day and sit down and have a scotch with him and see what he has to say about it all. But, yeah, everybody's got to have something to drive them, and, there really is just too much suffering in the world to have bad days every day, like there's got to be something, it can be something so simple, and finding beauty in little things like passion flowers or whatever it might be. It's there. It's there. Just look.
100%.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kylie.
You're welcome.
So I hope you enjoyed this episode of the podcast, and I want to thank Kylie from Arise Aromatics for coming down and chatting with us. One thing that really got me from this episode, and I said it to her, is her resilience is just incredible. And I think that really is something that can help a lot of people out there, that in business, you have to be resilient because there's going to be things that are going to be thrown at you. And if you can conquer through those hardships, then you can make it work if you have that drive and that passion. So thank you very much, Kylie. I really enjoyed our chat. Please go ahead and like and subscribe to us on YouTube and hit that bell notification. Like us on Apple Pod and also Spotify. And please share this podcast with anyone that wants to be in business or is in business and wants to be inspired about business owners. So I hope you enjoyed the episode, and I'll talk to you soon.